Hey folks, I'm at Botley Hill Farmhouse on the B269. So this is on the main Croydon Road heading out from Chelsham towards Oxted or Tatsfield. I'm on a loop walk today. This is my country walk, so I'm going to start here and then I'm going to head over on a well-known trail which takes me down Pitchfont Lane, and then I'm going to head along basically parallel with the M25, then back up the hill near the chalkpits, along the ridge where there'll be another little detour to one of the really high points, and then back here to Botley. Now the farmhouse is a originally 16th century building and there's elements of 18th. Lovely old building. It was originally known as a tea room really, although you could get a nice Sunday meal there. It was listed in 1984, so this is where my main memory comes from really. And it's been now turned into a kind of bit of everything from restaurant, cafe, functions, weddings and the like here. It might be a bit breezy today, and I'm taking a bit of a chance with the weather because we've just had some showers this morning. One's not long finished, and I can only really do this in good weather because of the microphone and all that kind of stuff. And when I'd originally spec'd out this walk, which, before I forget, details are on the corner of the screen now. But yes, before I spec'd out this walk, I was thinking if, and it's a big if, I've got some still weather, I might bring out the drone, but it's so breezy, it will blow away. You know, I'm just going to have a stop, point the camera in that direction where we see the first of many wireless transmitters. We've got two just in that view now. These will most certainly be a feature because it is so high up here. The official term for this particular piece of land is a Marilyn, and I will talk a bit more about that later. Woldingham, Chelsham, and actually where I did my last walk, the kind of Slines Oak area, is that away. So if you remember the ghost story, the ghostly horse and carriage would have started its route on this very stretch of road. You can even see there that we've got Oxted, Limpsfield, Edenbridge, Sevenoaks, Westerham, so that's definitely a trade route, albeit the hill climb would have been interesting. And of course the road surface would have been nothing like we see today. So we've got a couple of cottages here that go back to 1870, it's for sale. And these are listed. Honeysuckle Cottage. So this is the Titsey Foundation walk, so you can go all the way down to Titsey Place, which is well worth a visit if you ever get a chance. Anyone lost a glove? So this is the first proper section. This is Pitchfont Lane. We had a spell of reasonably good weather for a while, and now we've seen some rain in the last couple of days, and it's probably going to be like that all week. Lovely moss there by those trees. So far so good on the weather. When I did my last video, I had to run for the bus a couple of times, and the knee pain that followed in the few days after, and to a degree a bit now, meant that it's something I probably shouldn't have done, certainly not without any build up. And yeah, the walking muscles that I test regularly on these walks generally are fine, but running muscles less so. Let's have a quick look over here. I think there's been a lot of management of the trees in this area. I believe it used to be much thicker. And straight ahead of me is the first view of the M25. That's near the Clackett Lane service area. Just get a little bit of a closer view there. Good old M25, flowing nicely. So this is the February walk, and I've been managing to do them once a month. Quite pleased with that. And I think a number of them, I know, a number of them are going to be in this general area because there's a lot to see. And in this general area, there's a very rich history. There are Bronze Age enclosures. There are remains of Roman villas, and various archaeological finds have been discovered over the years. So where possible, I can signpost those. Can't always go and actually visit them per se. Treading carefully. This would have probably been a nice chalky walk prior to recent rainfall. So the Titsy Foundation sign with another lost item. It's not the other glove, is it? I did toy with the idea of bringing a walking pole, but probably more trouble than it's worth. If I was just doing a walk and not filming it, yeah. But this is going to be treading carefully. But if you favour a walking pole, if you do this kind of walk, as I do with all of these, they're on OS maps. The link is in the description below. You can actually review them, so if you happen to do these walks and you like what you see, give us a little review. Thank you. Once again, you can see how the rainwater finds its level. We're on quite a hill here. Very pretty going back where it's less harsh. Lovely covering of moss again with some young plants showing through. Some of the recent comments from particularly these walks, people know the area very well. They've walked or cycled in the locality, and it helps for my research really, because I'd then like to include some of those spots that people have visited in future walks when I'm mapping them out. It's so easy to do the mapping nowadays, and what I like to do is to dig around to see if there are any areas of historical interest, just to, I suppose, educate, inform, whatever. Doesn't sound too twee. Another sign. I think this might be me. Actually got some steps here, and worryingly some slide marks, and I just did one of my own. So let me just check. This is the North Downs Way. I'm pretty certain. Also the Vanguard Way. Looking at the sort of Oxted area straight ahead. And this is the North Downs Way. That's a serious hole there. Badgers. Even wearing proper boots, I'm sliding all over the place here. Soil is very clay-like. So maybe those walking poles would have been a good idea, but I'm taking it easy. I read that there was meant to be a meridian plaque here somewhere. I thought it was in the section that I've just been through. It may be in this bit. It may not exist, because we are on 0 degrees longitude. So from Grenage all the way down, all the way south, well, and north. And I was hoping there would be something to show it that I could then show you, but regardless, if you do this walk, you are very near to that 0 degrees. And as I slide, and I'm keeping an eye out for where it might be, unless someone has made off with it. Right, I'm doing some detective work. I've got this app called Where Am I? And I found I was on 0.01 degree east, and I moved back to where I came from and it moved to 3. So I'm thinking if I do another check soon, I will find it, and then I'll do a screenshot and add it to the video. This is fun, isn't it? It's actually a bench up ahead. I don't know if that might be to market. People who know the area are probably saying, yes, of course it is, or similar. But I haven't done this walk before. Oh, right. Okay, so there's a little pathway there. I'm on 0.00, so screenshot. That will appear in the video. So yeah, we've got M25, still going strongly. I can't see anything, albeit there is this little footpath here. Maybe there was something here. There are various markers along the line of the meridian where you can kind of have 1 foot in east and 1 foot in west. I remember doing that as a kid, but that was up in Grenage. So we are now on the Western Hemisphere. Aha! Ha 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 ha! Except I'm challenging that. This plaque marks the point where the North Downs Way and the Vanguard Way cross the Greenwich Meridian line, funded by Surrey County Council and the Vanguard's Rambling Club. So I'm walking straight down, and of course the app may not be right, but I'm now taking another screenshot using this app to show that it's a few degrees off. Right, I'm going to call this Meridian Gate. I mean, it's not really. So I have now visited 3 locations. According to Apple Maps, the location I'm in right now is completely 0 degrees, all the way down to the lowest possible value that they have in the number string. A little bit further on is the first place I went to, and that is, according to the Where Am I app, that was 0 degrees. And where the bench is, and the sign and the plaque, that's what's also shown as 0 degrees. It's actually in line with a kind of sign. It's not a bridge, it's an actual sign with a bendy kind of metal frame for the motorway. I would say that's where Apple Maps are showing it as the Meridian. And then we've got the original place that I stopped just up here, where it's worn through and the fence is down. That was the Where Am I app. And then up by the bench, a little bit further, where we've got some ramblers coming this way, that's where the actual plaque is. Essentially, don't worry about it. If you're coming along here, enjoy the walk, and know that at some point, when you go through this field, this section of North Downs Way, you are going to cross the Meridian. You will go from east to west, or west to east, depending on which way you take the trail. That's it. Nothing more is going to be said on it now. Hope you found that slightly entertaining. I remain on the North Downs Way path. The wind is blowing, but it's lovely to be out here in this fresh air. The drainage looks slightly better here. It's not usually a problem when the path is flat, it's only when it's on a slight slope. When we climb the hill, we may be lucky enough to see some red kites or similar. They do like to fly around at that high point. Grey clouds. I'm not worried, honest. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Lovely sign here, the North Downs Way. In the footsteps of pilgrims, as I've just been attacked by a thorn bush behind me, off camera. And there's a little QR code which possibly will work on screen. Only one way to find out. Anyway, on the Greenwich Meridian trail, look at that. Didn't realise that. We're going up the North Downs Way. Ooh, that's muddy and slidey. So, Oxted Downs National Trust. Beautiful bird song behind me. We continue to travel parallel to the M25 along this footpath. I'm staying on the grass just for traction as I slip. How many times have I done that on these videos? My mum always worries when she sees that. Don't worry, Mum, I've got this. You taught me well. Kind of flattening out a bit here. Bird activity. Birds and hedgerows. Whoops, I went again. Another road glove. Do you think people get really hot at certain points and shed things like gloves and hats? Or it's probably a genuine accident. Keep seeing these kind of striped lines where tread from a boot has slid down and gathers up the mud here, so you do have to be so careful. These are probably the whoops as I do exactly what I've just demonstrated. There will be nothing gained by trying to take this kind of surface at any speed. I wonder what that is. Something has had a dig there. I can see a footpath sign in the distance. A bit more grass here, although I don't want to fall into the barbed wire fencing. And this grass hasn't got brilliant traction. Right, I'm going to have a quick sit down, slip down. I'm going to have a quick sit down, check bearings, and then we'll be on our way up the hill. You've seen me climb hills before, and I want to avoid any heavy breathing, so I'll keep the camera running and facing forward, but I'll speed it up a bit and put some jokey music on, and see you at the top. After a necessary breather at the top. The leaves affording some well-needed grip. As soon as I said that, I start slipping. So that's where I've just come from. This is Chalkpit Lane. And just over the other side there are the chalk pits. If I find a reasonable map, that's probably the safest way of showing you what the chalk pits are like, or aerial satellite imagery. Got a sign up here, danger Deep excavations, barbed wire fencing and all that. So I shall face oncoming traffic and jump out the road. Phew, that was a warm climb. Get to that season where it's difficult to know what to wear for best on these walks. Rather attractive structure there. So, I've stopped here for a reason. I think that where we had the Woldingham School sponsored walk, we stopped here in this field and had lunch. So by putting the map on screen, hopefully I may be able to confirm my story. Pretty certain it was there though. We would all stop and pack lunch and then off on our trek to raise money for good causes. We're going to head over the road, up the lane, before coming back and heading in that direction up on the ridge for the last leg of the walk. I do like a good wall. Look at that. I think I might have found myself the thumbnail for the video. But that said, there's a lot of really nice options for this. Some videos offer up more than others, because the thumbnail is the bit you see on YouTube, and hopefully people are somewhat engaged by the look and the title and click it and have a look at what I've created. Access to Whistler's Wood and Field House only. I'm heading up here, which I believe is a public right-of-way. And trust me on this, because I've got very, very good reason to go up here. Something that links completely with my interests and my favourite subjects. Yay, good surface. I think the surface is good from here on in, really. Some plant life here emerging. Already seen in other areas snowdrops and crocus and similar. We're being led by a pheasant. Oh, he's just hopped in the hedgerows. You may have seen that, it would have been quite small. Turned out to be a beautiful day. I'm glad I persevered and trusted the weather forecast. Now, do you see what I see? Not a pheasant running on the road in front of me, and a squirrel. Possibly don't see that, it's on the tree on the left. Looking good, isn't he? Aha. So, private land, that's perfectly fine. And a wireless transmitter station. So 2 aerial structures there. And as I mentioned earlier on in the video, right at the beginning, there are a lot of them in this neck of the woods, because this is a high point and it makes perfect sense to have a water tower on a high point and let gravity do the rest. So this is one of my favourite subjects. I'm just trying to position the camera there so that you can try and see all of it. Let's go top down. It says on the East Surrey Water Company 1931. Well, that is now Sutton and East Surrey. And you can actually see this quite clearly from the main road, which is on the far side, kind of that direction over there. And from the car park at Botley, you can swing round and look at this. Now, I don't have any data for capacity and where it's pumped from and all that kind of thing. I would like to know that, and maybe one day I can find out soon, because I want to do some more work on the Says water area and its history. But yeah, quite a structure. Sort of shorter and broader rather than the kind of more traditional water towers that you see, the tall ones. So I mentioned earlier about the word Marilyn. Well, yes, Botley Hill is a Marilyn, which is a peak that has a topographic performance of at least 150 metres, and this is the third highest in the county of Surrey. So it kind of also lends itself, or explains why you would have so many aerial or wireless transmitter facilities here, because you can just pick up the signals easier and so on and so forth. And it's wonderful here. I liken this to being, I don't know, somewhere out in the moors or in the Peak District, somewhere like that, where you're just miles away from anywhere, and you can hear some distant noise of maybe construction work going on, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's really quite beautiful. There's a couple of red kites up there swooping round near the sun, which won't help either. I hope I'm safe. But what I will do is, I'm making my way back down anyway now, so this is just the one look back on this lovely little stop off point where we've got the one transmitter, the water tower, and the second one. And yeah, that is the actual highest point right there. Although it's still a similar height, I believe, on the roadway itself. And in the short time that I did the look back, the red kites have flown off. I mean, I didn't promise them. I just said we might see them, and I probably saw them much better than you did. Back down this little lane, little entrance lane to the water tower area. Back past these nice houses, and then along the ridge. I'm going to do a kind of slight little, it's not really a detour, it's just a slightly different, alternative, but parallel pathway to get back to the Botley area. I'm having to keep my wits about me, facing oncoming traffic obviously, and diving into that stuff if there's a vehicle coming. But I've had acknowledgements where it's been done a couple of times. So this is the Ridge roadway. Behind me it goes to North Downs Golf Club and then into Woldingham, connecting up with one of my walks. I do a live stream podcast roughly every 3 weeks. And if you look at my podcast listing on my channel, you'll see when the next one is. And feel free to come along. You can come along, say hello, ask me questions live, and then that'll be uploaded afterwards as the show for that particular number. But it's been great fun. I started towards the end of last year, and yeah, it's going to be the way forward now. I just like to do my podcast that way, do them live, we have a chat, and then there's an audio version as well should you choose to follow from that method. But the live ones are good fun, so feel free to come along. Lovely view of the countryside there, and the way the sun is peeking through the clouds, it kind of illuminates the far ground, and the foreground's kind of a bit more cloudy. Oops. Each time I have to jump up. Well, I choose for my own safety to jump up. I will be doing a right turn up here. Chose this view because the sun's really hitting it nicely. This is where we've been just now. Water tower and the two aerial or transmitter structures, and sheep in the fields and other bird activity, which is not easy to see. What a lovely sight. Now this is just before we turn off. I'm not going to go too far in here, but in this area there was, or there are, the remains of an enclosure. Looking at this LiDAR map, I can make out a faint outline of something enclosed. Don't know any more information about it, so answers on a postcard for the enclosure that's off the ridge. It's on a few maps, you know, it just literally says enclosure. Often there are paths on maps, but when you get to the location where the path is meant to be, there is no evidence of it at all. So I'm going where I think the path is. This is the current challenging terrain. Because it should lead to a more formal pathway that runs parallel with the road. Would you call this a pathway? No signs, and the signs have been brilliant on this walk. Ah. Aha. Grass path, possibly. I expected to just, you know, walk up and see an obvious path. Not too much to ask. Slash trackway, so yeah, I probably should have joined down there, which is opposite the enclosure area, and we go along here. Slip sliding away again. If I sound like I'm complaining that I'm slipping and sliding, I'm absolutely not. I would rather be here than in many other places, I have to tell you. The mud suctioned the bottom of my boot then. It's those conditions where if you had Wellington boots on, it would stick your boots to the surface, and then you just take your foot out and then put your socked foot into the mud. It's that. Now the plan is, at some point, this pathway will join up, or I'll have to take a left turn to join up to the road, but I just wanted to give this as a alternative view. Fully fledged water features here. What's the least worst? Probably this way. Frog spawn. Look at this. Loads and loads of frog spawn. How wonderful. A massive clump of it there. Isn't that amazing? I really hope the conditions are good for them to hatch out. You never know what you're going to see. You never know. There's some other puddles here, and they've got the green growth, but no frog spawn. The worry I have is that this route looks like it might occasionally need to be travelled upon by a motor vehicle, tractor, whatever. I hope it doesn't, certainly until they've broken free. As the trackway is going in this direction, I think I'll make my way back. A little pan again, we've got the sheep, lovely landscape, sun hitting it nicely. And there we've got the rear of Botley Hill, a barn there that they have functions in, weddings and the like, and I believe the cafe is next to it, and then the farm buildings next to that. We've had situations before where different videos I've done connect with others, and there's a situation that happened here actually. So on the hardest day, the 18th of August 1940, Pilot Harry Snow Newton was with his squadron defending nearby Kenley from a low-level attack when he was hit by a German bomber. With his hurricane alight, flames entering the cockpit, his only option was to bow out over Botley Hill. Now thankfully he survived to tell the tale, and he even met up with the pilot of the German aircraft who came down a little way later. It's hard to find an area in this neck of the woods that doesn't have some kind of World War II story, because we were right in the thick of it here. And this was the ridge. Signs to Oxted, Limpsfield and Edenbridge. We're heading back to Botley. As I battle with the traffic, all in all, quite a nice mix on that walk. The terrain was challenging at times. The descent was as challenging as the ascent, but we got to see some really beautiful views. The sun showed itself, bit of history, the Meridian, in about 3 different spots, but I won't go on about it. And all in all, really enjoyable. And I know one of my subscribers to the channel, Dave, was really looking forward to this. So Dave, I hope it's done you proud. I didn't really go inside Botley, but maybe that'll be for another day where we actually go inside and I'll bring Sue up and we'll have a bite to eat, something like that. Although I don't think it's changed too much. It's a listed building, they can't do too much. They've added on to it, as we saw from the other view. But yes, so thanks for coming along. Hope you enjoyed it. I really appreciate the support. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.